So I'm playing the Xbox One version of State of Decay in the office, right? And it was about here, as I'm making my way back to the church with Marcus, that a couple of people start watching the game over my shoulder. It's not long before one of them quite predictably says, "Hey Chris, which of the many generic zombie video games are you playing today then?" And oh man, was I ready for this. I've been defending State of Decay since 2013. So I turn to them, the uninitiated, and start with quite a well-rehearsed opening line. It goes, "Okay, so yes, it's not a very pretty video game, and it does run badly a lot of the time, but..." And at that very moment, a feral ghoul appears out of nowhere. Seriously, look at the minimap. Out of nowhere, and although I of course frantically tried to fight it off, these things are tough, and I don't have the right gear for an encounter like this. Marcus is ripped in half. Dead! Now to the people watching, that was probably quite fun to watch, quite entertaining, but it's not really going to change their mind and have them racing to go and play State of Decay for themselves. Which is a bit of a shame actually, because they've probably just witnessed this game at its very, very best. They just didn't have the necessary context at the time. They've essentially walked in midway through the Fellowship of the Ring and seen Ian McKellen fall into a big hole whilst his mates run off.
Fly, you fools!
That moment sort of relies on you having formed a relationship with that character prior to him falling into a big hole for it to have a real impact. So let me briefly walk you through the story of this chap, Marcus, prior to him being ripped in half so very efficiently. And just to be clear, this is a game all about permadeath. Although this didn't mean the end of my playthrough altogether, I had maybe 10 or 11 survivors by this stage, and they're all potentially playable characters. Marcus himself, he was gone for good. And that felt especially important because he was the very first of them. The main campaign begins with you controlling Marcus as he and his buddy Ed try to figure out what's going on with all these angry dead people. And you're not supposed to pick favourites, you're advised not to do it in a game like this, but you do anyway. And so I'd been playing pretty exclusively 2 characters by this point in the game, which is a few hours in. One of which was Marcus, and the other was Maya, who was injured at the time. Which meant that when the call came in about a doctor being seen with another group of survivors, it was Marcus that raced up there in his Flash sports car. I decided that he liked Flash sports cars at this stage. And yeah, I kind of knew what to expect. I've played this game before, so I knew that they would be under attack and that I'd need to bring some decent gear with me. But I brought something quite specific for that mission. It was a slow, steady rifle that was really good at picking off headshots at a distance, had a scope on it and everything. Anyway, as is often the case in State of Decay, the whole wave defense setup that you have to go through in this mission is a bit clunky and unpredictable, and it's tough as well. I burned through all my ammo, a whole 28 bullets, I know. And yeah, we do make it through to the other side, just about, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. I feel like the hard work has been done. I've got a lot of good experience with Marcus, his skills are starting to shoot up even more, and I get to spend some influence with the survivors that I just helped to restock after the fight. And the doctor agrees to help if I shoot this dead body in the head, which is a bit weird and oh, it's a bit much, wasn't it? But yes, mission accomplished. Solid work, Marcus. Now here's where it goes just a bit wrong.
Attention, all civilians currently squatting in this
Sports cars, man.
valley.
So I'm now on foot and still a good distance away from safety, but really I'm just frustrated with how long it's going to take to run all the way back, rather than being worried about whether or not I will actually make it. You see, at this stage, we're still relatively early on in the campaign, and most of the zombies that you run into are pretty straightforward. You've got the typical zombies like this fella, and you've also got the slightly larger variant, which can still be stopped with a single headshot, but they're maybe a bit trickier to knock off their feet if you're going in for a melee. However, the most obvious concern I had was these zombie hordes, actually. Even the most bog-standard undead can be a problem if there's enough of them. But look at that! A Molotov takes them all out. That was actually just quite a good shot. Yeah, we've completed quite a tricky mission. Ed is going to be alright. He'd been bitten, and that's why we needed the doctor. And it's still light outside. Everything is lovely. Then BAM! With context, this moment is something else entirely. It's a fitting end to my character's story. A character that I had grown attached to by the end. Not really because of the dialogue or the linear storytelling that State of Decay occasionally wants to show you. It's the personal moments, the ones that feel unique to my playthrough. It's knowing where he found that rifle that he's using. It's remembering the moments earlier on when he'd almost died but just escaped by the skin of his teeth. It's the fact that he threw a Molotov cocktail in that wave defense mission that caused a huge explosion that I just wasn't expecting and really annoyed one of the other survivors, which in turn made me laugh. It's the gear that he was using and how he played differently to Maya as a result. It's that I decided he liked sports cars just because, and that was arguably the reason that he died. The games that do handle permadeath the best, in my opinion, are the ones that give you that room to grow close to characters. Not because of cutscenes or scripted moments, but because you end up creating these weird personal stories. That's what makes State of Decay worth playing. It's not a very pretty video game, and it does run badly a lot of the time, but it has moments like this one. Moments that have you thinking, this is it. F it. It is what it is. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you might like some of the other stuff that we do. We've got a weekly show. Look at that. That one has Tim Schafer in it. Nice. Or maybe this one over here, when Ether and I talk about a demo of Star Wars Battlefront that she's seen. Come on, everyone's into Star Wars, aren't they? Shadow of the Beast is being remade for the PlayStation 4 console. That one's exciting. I actually don't know if that one's exciting. I didn't play the original. It was made in the 80s. What's all that about? Maybe you could find out what that's all about by clicking right there. Hey, maybe I'll do that too. It'll be like we're watching the video together. That was me clicking on it.